Hi, this is Tony Barton on Be Courageous, and we're at the Kansas GOP Convention today and running into a lot of excited people who are looking for changes during the midterm, that are just wanting to be involved in multiple levels within campaigns, within their district. So it's pretty exciting. The other thing that happens is I get to run into people who are doing extraordinary things. And so I have with me right now Carli Eli, who is the Blexit Midwest Regional Director. We got to talking outside of the set here, and I was thinking I've got to interview her and have her share what it is that she's doing. It's pretty exciting, so I want to let her do that. Without any further ado, Carli, thank you for being here, and thank you for accepting that, to come on and be interviewed on Be Courageous. I really appreciate it. I know it was kind of like quick notice, hey, can we do an interview? But thank you for coming to do that. So why don't you just kind of tell us a little bit about you, and then we'll get into the...
Absolutely. So good afternoon, everyone, and I just want to say thank you, Tony, for having me on today.
Absolutely.
I'm honored to be here. So like I stated earlier, my name is Carli. I am the Blexit Midwest Regional Director, and it is an honor and a privilege to be in the beautiful state of Kansas. It's my first time here, and the reason why I'm here is because we have a recently launched chapter in the state, and for those that may not be aware of what Blexit is, Blexit is a 501c3 nonprofit, non-political organization whose commitment is to advance the minority communities, specifically the African American community.
Okay, and Blexit stands for?
Well, I guess in a way to say it is blacks exiting, the liberal, the liberalism, right, the Democrats,
Yep,
right,
absolutely.
Democratic Party. Not
Absolutely.
but actually, it's more the mindset, the liberal ideology.
Absolutely.
But we are a nonprofit, non-political, nonpartisan organization. We are a community-driven outreach organization.
Which means?
Okay, so the organization we have 5 pillars. Our first pillar is school choice.
Okay.
Our second pillar is criminal justice reform. Our third is free enterprise, business entrepreneurship. Our fourth pillar is preserving the historical background of our country, which is, we're free thinkers. We are,
Absolutely.
we are free thinkers. We are lovers of freedom. This nation was built on freedom, and that's why we're trying to preserve that history. Because as we know, the radical left, they're trying to eradicate history.
They're trying to eradicate it, destroy it, eliminate it.
Yes, and as lovers of freedom and free thinking, free expression, obviously exercising our rights, we stand on that platform. The other thing is the last pillar happens to be presenting any of the first 4 pillars in an evocative visual arts format. For example, like a rally or some sort of event.
Mm-hmm.
So in addition to our pillars, we also have initiatives. In January, when we started out this year, we have our school choice initiative. Last month was Black Prosperity. This month is CRT month. Next month is Back to Blue. We do food drives, toy drives, Thanksgiving drives. We have chapters across our country, and each chapter has an executive team. And the teams, they create these initiatives and events to impact the community. So that's who we are in a nutshell.
That is a lot in a nutshell. And a couple of things caught my mind, my attention. You mentioned CRT as an initiative, as in combating CRT.
Correct.
Within the community, within the school system, where they're trying to convince people that all white people are racist, regardless of whether they recognize it or not. We know that not to be true. And also the other front that I see the battle in is within the church. And I have actually had conversations with those that actually have brought that into the church, and it's nothing but destructive. It's you sit there and go, why would you bring something that is so diametrically opposed to God and the Scripture, and you bring that into the church thinking that it's a good thing? I've watched some of the people, big name people, actually apologizing for their whiteness and all this other kind of nonsense, and it's just been really a sad thing. So I'm really glad that someone else and some of this group here is going to attack that, because it needs to be brought down. It really does, and especially within the black community, because of course here we are dividing ourselves on racial lines once again. So that's exciting. That's really good. Tell me, how did you get involved with because Blexit is Candace Owens
And Brandon Tatum's organization.
Say again.
Brandon
Tatum's
They are the
organization, the co-founders of it. So how did you manage to get so involved?
Oh, absolutely. So, originally from New York, went to college in Florida, had an extensive career in media and also in grassroots outreach, lobby for school choice years ago when I was living in D.C. Been very invested in the minority community, specifically the African American and Hispanic markets, because we share very similar parallels, a lot of issues. So I've always had a heart for the minority community. I've seen, growing up in New York and D.C. and even going to school in Florida, I've seen the disparity. The socioeconomic disparities, and when you look at the results and the ramifications, it all boils down to liberal Democrat policies.
You bet.
So I've always been a fighter for that type of movement, and so when Candace came out a few years ago, they were going on tour. In fact, the organization, the man behind the vision and the mission is our national director, Pierre Wilson.
Okay.
Brandon and Candace, they went on 4 years ago to share their message. And when they went to North Carolina, like many us fans of Brandon and Candace, Pierre was very also taken by the message. And he's like, you know what? We need a chapter here on this message here in Charlotte. And he was the man with the vision, the mission, and after months of being persistent that this has to be a chapter. It was what was birthed out of, Blexit. So from then on, they had another rally in Atlanta. They had about almost 2.5 years ago, they came to Atlanta, and, I went there to listen to the message, and I was just really captivated by it. Resonates with me, what they stand for. I became a member of the chapter, of the Georgia chapter, and eventually I became a leader, and it's been great, and now I happen to be on the regional side where I oversee multiple states. And basically my role here is to build teams. Grassroots teams who have who obviously respect our founders and our leaders and have a vested interest in making an impact in the Black community.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
Now, speaking of making an impact, how are you received within the Black community? And then when I'm referring to liberal, Democrat, that whole mindset, how do you deal with that? How do you get people to respond, or people that see you, or you're wanting to talk with, are they just kind of like, I don't have anything to do with it, or do they understand, what's going on, especially after decades and decades of liberal policies that have done nothing but destroy the Black family and the minority family?
I think it depends what city and what town and what state you may be in.
Okay.
Yeah, what I've noticed, and something that I've always said it for years, is that you can't peg everyone in the same hole.
Sure.
Okay, you have to be very sensitive to people, their culture, their town. Every town, every state has a different culture. And I think the key essence here is that if you've ever been to a Blexit rally, and if you haven't, I strongly recommend you should go to one because it's powerful.
Yes.
The common theme of Blexit, and that's being presented by our founders and also by our national director, is the theme of love.
Okay.
It's love. Love is the answer. The greatest gift is love.
Well, that's right.
And when you're going into a community, whether no matter what background they're in, there's always going to be that kind of like, okay, I don't know you. What do you want?
Yeah.
What are you trying to sell?
Sure.
What are you trying to convey, right? But I think when we present our issues, or in this case, our pillars, and what we do, I think unfortunately, many people might not be familiar with our community outreach. And that, so, but when we tell them what we do, and we tell them how we're making an impact, people's hearts are starting to change.
So you get to use those different methods and outreach tools to draw them in so that you can communicate this message.
Right, and the thing is, and we present it in a format that is love. We're here to work together. We're not partisan, we're not political, so it's not a Democrat versus Republican. If people were to ask what we do, who we are, our values, they are conservative. They're going to be conservative hands down. Listen, school choice, that's a conservative issue. I don't care how you want to spin it.
Hey,
it's a conservative issue. When you talk about, hey, yes, we are for family. We thrive on that. We're all about emphasizing the strength of family, the strength of the husband, the father figure in the household. That's a conservative issue.
It really is, because on the other side, they've taken that Black family and have basically dismantled it, where dads aren't in the home and mom is trying to raise kids, and it just has been a sad picture for a long time. So it's exciting, and I'm really glad to see it here. And Candace Owens is just amazing.
She is amazing.
But I remember watching her in a setting where it was just a bunch of liberal Black individuals, and she stood her ground. I thought it was pretty powerful, and I'm sure you have to kind of do the same thing in that environment, because you're bringing a message that is diametrically opposed to what it is that maybe they've grown up with.
Right.
And so their experience is different.
I agree with you. And here's the thing. I think as conservatives and lovers of freedom, whenever we're trying to present a message that may not be well received, you can't argue with facts.
True.
You cannot argue with truth.
True.
And oftentimes the other side, they're very emotional. And it's all about feelings. Well, I'm sorry. Well, if you want to get emotional, how about a story? How about the numbers don't lie? How about how many children in the African American community are going into schools that are broken and they have nowhere to go? So if you want to be emotional, let's talk about those issues.
Absolutely.
Because these kids, they're and it's also a generational thing. You have communities that have not, they haven't left the system. One of our pillars too, a conservative issue, is business enterprise, and it's also free enterprise and business entrepreneurship. I live in Atlanta, where Atlanta is a city where there's a lot of communities that are very affluent African American communities, which I happen to live in one. And my heart is to see all people, be empowered and achieve the American dream.
Absolutely.
So when I live in an affluent African American community in Atlanta, it's like, isn't that what we want for all communities across our country? To have that chance of the American dream, to be empowered, to be business owners, that they can, they can set. They can set the limit as far as how high they want to achieve, and no one can come against that. So we look at empowerment, free enterprise, entrepreneurship, business skills. Let's equip the Black community on how to be owners of their own destinies, and how to be a force to be reckoned with in the economic forum, because that's the standard, right?
That is.
So when you look at issues like that, also criminal justice reform, I think it's also conservative issue. I mean, come on, you cannot argue with the facts.
That's right.
And so the list goes on and on. So I think as long as we continue to in Blexit to present it with facts in a very loving, respectful, dignified manner, that you can be sitting with a person that completely disagrees with your politics or your perception. Well, hey, listen, we can be respectful to disagree, agree to disagree.
Disagree to disagree.
But you know what? I know that when we give them the facts, and we do it in a way that's slow, you plant seeds. And when we leave that conversation, we leave that meeting, and they see the proof that we're out there investing in the community. We have no agenda but to impact the Black families, the fathers, the mothers, the children. We have an after-school program also that we are launching in Blexit, which is education. It's a big centerpiece of the organization's education, which is definitely up my alley because I'm very passionate about it. And you see the pictures of our teams going there, and you see the families that are being blessed. This is what makes it worthwhile.
And you can't, like you said, you can't fight that, because that's real. It's like, before they want to hear your words of wisdom, they want to know where you live. And to have a heart that says, we're going to go out and basically minister to these communities and reach them with things that they need, whether it's food, clothing, or whatever else that you may have and present. It does provide that opportunity and that platform to share truth and facts. That's exciting. That's awesome. So you're here at the GOP Convention, and what has it been like for you in regards to people talking to you? Because for me, talking to you, I'm like, yeah, she's got it going on. We're going to get an interview, and we're going to put this out there because this is great. In fact, I'm going to get some more information about whatever group that you're forming here in Kansas, because I think this is incredible. And I'm thinking in my mind, I know different places where this could make an impact. So, but how have you been received here?
Overall, I've been active for quite some time politically.
Sure.
So I came here with a very open mind and also with great humility, because this is my first time in the state. I'm again going back to being sensitive to people's culture and perception and mindset. So definitely, I've seen differences. As far as conventions are concerned, maybe the demographics are a bit different. Also, the size too. Compared to other cities, this one's a lot smaller.
Sure.
But I really believe overall the common denominator is the issues that I think as Americans we are all fighting for. I think all of us are feeling it, whether it's at the gas pump or issues like CRT or issues on voter integrity. I think that's one thing that we can all say, hey, we're fighting the same issue. I think overall people have been very, very kind, very, very sweet,
Open.
very open,
Yes.
and it just goes to show you that our country, we have some critical issues that we have to take on, not only at the federal level, but obviously at the state and local. I realize that whether it's local politics in Georgia versus maybe local politics here, there is still that same common denominator.
There is that.
Yeah, there is passion in the room.
You bet.
There is concern in the room.
Sure.
There's also ringing the alarm, that sense of urgency. And with 242 days away from the November elections, yeah, it's a critical.
It really is.
It's a critical election, and I think just seeing people, it's no different from the folks from Georgia, and other states too.
Yeah.
I think everyone's concerned, and I think everyone also wants to be invested and get involved.
I think so too, and I think as I looked at the numbers, and I shared this with you earlier on, that right now, normally it's been about maybe 30% of the black populace votes conservative or votes Republican. That number as of yesterday is trending at 27%. That is, and I'm really kind of smart, and I'm pretty optimistic about these things, and I hate to be, well, let's wait and see what happens, but part of it is that you kind of got to wait, do everything that you can, and then, hope and pray. Come November, when it comes time to vote, some of these individuals out who have done nothing but destroy the black community, but to put people in that are going to help build it and encourage people to basically pursue the American dream. It's going to be interesting to see how that takes place after the vote. But I think with this, and there are other groups and people out there with the same kind of mindset that are really wanting to see change. Because you're right, as a country, we're hurting right now. This is unbelievable. I would have never thought we could ever be in the place we're at right now. Now we're talking inflation that's going crazy. The economy is going crazy. We've got, a war going on across the world that, we're kind of tied to in a sense. And it's just so much chaos and so much, so many struggles and so many problems. You said a word that really kind of unifies people regardless of who, what, when, where, why, and how, where they're located, and that is love. And that's a biblical truth. And the greatest of is love. And so, boy, I appreciate your heart. I do. I really appreciate it. This is really exciting. And if people want to get involved here in Kansas, how would they do that?
Sure. So we have a state director in Kansas. So
Okay.
if you want to email her, she may be reached at kansas@blexit.com.
Kansas@blexit.com. And what is her name?
Her name is Olivia.
Olivia?
Yeah.
What, we have a last
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So we'll have that information. We'll put it up on the post. We'll post it up on the tape or video, however this is going to be done. And we'll also have it on the website as well and on the Facebook page. Thank you so much, Carli. I really
It's
do
such a
appreciate
pleasure. Thank
you
you.
being here.
Absolutely.
And
It's my
this
honor.
is really exciting, and I'm really happy to have met you and have been able to have this time to talk. So.
Absolutely. Thank you so
All
much.
right.
And I just want to also just congratulate you and just also encourage you to keep that fight. Just be courageous.
Yes.
I think that's the message in this hour. We need
You
to
bet.
stand strong, be strong, and be courageous,
You bet.
and
You bet.
the best is yet to come.
Amen.
You
Joshua
know?
1:9.
That's my verse.
There is it?
Yes.
That's-
And you can't have it.
Well, that is the foundation of being courageous. So, all righty. Well, very good meeting you.
You too.
And thank you so
Thank you.
much. And hopefully, keep in mind, we've got other interviews we're doing, different things that are happening. This one was really special. So thank you for watching. And until next time, be courageous.